I couldn't even get the secretaries on the right chute, let alone the right bud on the chute.
There was no doubt that before the operation he was depressed, and if you're living with someone that's depressed, that is going to affect you as well. And he's very, very much happier. You know, it's been like a miracle for him.
Not only is the shake a problem from the point of view of being conspicuous, but turning the pages of the music itself is a huge problem when you've got this tremor. Well, I had said to our conductor, I'm probably going to have to give up because of this. I would urge people to explore this possibility. I really would, because it has been life-changing.
Welcome to Queen Square in Focus. I'm Jodie Cooper, Chief Executive of QS Enterprises. In this series, we share the stories of patients whose lives have been transformed by the work we do here in Queen Square. Today, you'll hear from Tom, who lived with essential tremor for decades before coming to us for treatment. This is Tom's story.
I first knew that I was different in that I had a tremor when I was doing A-level biology, age 16, because my peers said they couldn't understand how I could dissect. We were doing dogfish and frogs and worms and things at that stage. When my hand jiggled like that, and obviously, in retrospect, that was because none of their hands did. And so it was apparent then, but I wasn't aware that I had the condition called essential tremor. I became aware of it when 20 years ago, I thought I was experiencing so much tremor that I consulted the doctor. He sent me to the local hospital. I was worried I'd got Parkinson's, and I was assessed. No, you haven't got Parkinson's, you've got essential tremor. And great relief, obviously, because 20 years ago I was still comparatively young. And that's when I knew about the condition and that it was inherited, and it came from my mother because she had essential tremor. So that's the story there. And then it has gradually got worse and worse and worse to the point that I couldn't really use my right hand for anything useful. And I was trying to become left-handed. I've been right-handed all my life. Quite difficult to learn to be left-handed. That's the story up until the time when it came to your organization.
Essential tremor is a common neurological condition that causes uncontrollable shaking, most often in the hands. For some, it is mild, but for others, it can become progressively worse, affecting daily activities and independence.
It's always a matter of degree, isn't it? Because even then, I suppose, I was having trouble doing up buttons, for example, and particularly my left hand shirt cuff buttons with my dominant right hand. But I was also having problems with cutting up food on the plate, that sort of thing. And but it was a very gradual process of the right hand getting steadily worse and worse and worse. So there was no point at which it became sort of critical. It was just a developing condition which affected every activity of mine to a gradually increasing degree. I suppose it's been the last 5 to 10 years when things have really got bad. Cutting things on a plate, and suddenly the knife would go do something on its own, and food could end up on the table or on the floor. That was a particular problem. It got so bad that Jenny had to cut up anything that was difficult for me. It got so bad that really I needed to use my left hand and use a spoon for most things. Filling in forms was a terrible ordeal. And again, Jenny basically filled in the form and I signed it to a decreasingly legible degree, to the extent that really my signature was pretty useless. I've never been a cook, but if I had to help cooking, for example, chopping a carrot, I would be increasingly likely to chop my fingers and end up rushing for the elastoplast. Using computer, I would make more and more and more mistakes as I hit the wrong key or two keys. Putting in my hearing aids themselves into my ears was a problem. And then even worse was putting the batteries in when I had to change the batteries. That was a devilish task. Smartphones with their small keyboards. It was impossible to use one, really, because the keyboard is so small. But you go to hit the key and you don't hit the one you want. You hit the one beside it or above it or below it. It's just totally random. Gardening was a major love of mine. I've been a gardener all my life. I'm very particular about pruning, for example, and I want to prune a shoot at the right place to be just above the correct bud so that the ensuing growth points the right way. Well, I couldn't even get the secateurs on the right shoot, let alone the right bud on the shoot.
For Tom, the tremor touched almost every aspect of life, from small, everyday tasks like fastening buttons or pouring a drink, to hobbies and social situations that once brought joy.
I was taking the standard medication recommended by my doctor and the consultant I had seen at the hospital, and it was less and less and less effective.
Now, for many patients, medication is the first step. And Tom had tried propranolol and, like so many, found it wasn't enough to restore normal life. We all know that search for alternatives can be daunting. And for Tom and his wife Jenny, hope came unexpectedly through an article they saw in a magazine, one that introduced them to Queen Square's Focused Ultrasound service.
We never, ever read the advertisements in magazines because we're not interested in them. On this occasion, some little element of fate meant Jenny saw the advertisement. Having seen the advertisement, really there was no choice. I could either go on declining in life, in my experience, in everything I was doing, and become a recluse, basically, or I could come up and see what it was all about. So that was, there was no choice, really. It was as simple as that. So the next day, I phoned up. And within a week, I was, I think, being assessed. And within a week of that, I was being treated. It's the happiest bit of fate, luckiest bit of fate we've ever had, I think.
At Queen Square, every patient begins with a thorough assessment. This includes consultations with our neurologists and our surgeons, functional tests to measure the impact of the tremor, and a multidisciplinary team review. For Tom, the professionalism and kindness of the team gave reassurance and confirmed that he was a suitable candidate for treatment.
It would be wrong to say I didn't have a little trepidation because I came with a list of questions. And the last question on my list was, how many people have you treated before me? And the answer was 3. It's a bit scary, frankly, to be number 4 on something affecting your brain in particular. But what was the choice? There wasn't any choice. So I felt delighted. And the assessment process, I was tremendously impressed with the amount of assessment, the obvious skill of the people involved, the number of professors involved, and the assessment process itself was a bit farcical in one extent, to one degree, in that they asked me to pour water from one plastic beaker into another. Well, it went not too badly with my left hand, but when they asked me to do it again with my right hand, most of it went all over the desk, including on some of their forms, which was a good demonstration, really, of how desperately bad I was. I don't want to have people feeling sympathy for me. I don't need sympathy. I need a cure. And that's what, hopefully, I was going to get.
Obviously, I felt a lot of confidence in all the people we met and were involved, and we knew that they were tip-top professionals, and they were also very kind and very. We felt very relaxed in their company, which was quite important. We did have to pay for the operation, and I said to Tom, don't think about the money, because think about what your life will be otherwise, with somebody dressing you, feeding you, and all the care that you will have to have. And it seemed to be really the only choice, as Tom said, to go ahead with it. And we're very glad we did. Well, he did, but I was backing him up.
MR-guided focused ultrasound is a pioneering incisionless treatment. Thousands of ultrasound waves are directed with pinpoint precision, guided by the MRI scanner. And that's to target the tiny area of the brain responsible for tremor, all without the need for traditional surgery. For patients, the procedure is safe, comfortable, and remarkably effective.
It just happened that I was sitting in the waiting room and someone came out who had actually been number 4. And we saw him being given a mug of tea, which he held in his right hand. And he said that was the first time he'd been able to drink with his right hand for how long?
20 years.
20 years. So that was a bit of a confidence boost, I must say. And then from there on, everyone treated me very considerately, kindly. There were so many of the team that I had previously seen present and doing their various tasks. I keep coming back to what was the alternative. The alternative was really unthinkable. At its worst, I could have felt suicidal in a few years. It never got to that stage, thank goodness. But that is quite a possibility.
For Tom, the change was extraordinary. Years of tremor disappeared in a single day. That evening, he drank a glass of wine with his right hand, something he hadn't done for years.
I was given a cup of tea to drink with my right hand, and I'd used my right hand. Wonderful. First time I've been able to do that with my single right hand for ages, and it was a wonderful experience. I've been told to bring walking poles in order to leave the treatment room and go to the hotel for the night. And I really felt I didn't need them. That evening, we walked from the hotel up the street to a restaurant and had a meal. And I had a glass of wine, which I drank with my right hand. Again, wonderful.
This moment, drinking steadily and confidently, symbolises freedom. For Tom, it marked the beginning of a new chapter.
I can now do up most of my buttons. My right hand, if I'm on days when I have to wear cufflinks or a shirt with buttoned cuffs, which is rare, I have to have help. But otherwise, I can do up all my buttons normally. I can put a screwdriver in the screwdriver slot, in the screw slot. I can transplant plants without everything falling off. I can prune to where I want to on the plant, on the right shoot, and in the correct position on the right shoot. And the other thing is that I sing in two choirs. I've sung in choirs all my life. And the last thing a congregation in church choir or an audience in another choir wants to see is someone with their music shaking, because they want to concentrate on the performance. And not only is the shake a problem from the point of view of being conspicuous, but turning the pages of the music itself is a huge problem when you've got this tremor, because you fiddle around, and you might manage to catch one, but it often as not you'll catch 2 or 3 pages, and that it got almost to the point. Well, I had said to our conductor, I'm probably going to have to give up because of this. And again, now, not a problem. So I can continue with singing, which is a great blessing and a great joy.
Yes, it has helped me a lot, really. And it also means that sometimes Tom can help me. And about 18 months ago, I do have osteoporosis, and I had a really bad fracture in one of my vertebrae, and I really couldn't actually dress myself or wash my feet or anything. And Tom had to help me a lot, which he wouldn't have been able to do before. And although he can't cook, he could still cope with getting some ready meals and preparing something, whereas I wasn't for several weeks unable to do any of it. So I think that it's a mutual benefit, definitely. And when he's there's no doubt that before the operation he was depressed, and if you're living with someone that's depressed, that is going to affect you as well. And he's very, very much happier. It's been like a miracle for him.
I approached it with cautious optimism, and that has been borne out many times over. And so far as my own treatment is concerned, I would thoroughly recommend anyone to have a go. I would urge people to explore this possibility. I really would, because it has been life-changing. It's given me another, 20 years of possible enjoyment of life, I think, rather than slow degradation.
In the weeks that followed, Tom's confidence returned alongside his abilities. Everyday activities became simple again. Cooking, gardening, photography, even singing in choirs without self-consciousness. For his wife Jenny, it was just transformative, giving her back the partner she could rely on and lifting the strain Tremor had placed on their lives together. At Queen Square, we remain committed to delivering advanced treatments with compassion and care, helping patients and families rediscover life without limits.
This is my left hand, which was my good hand. That's what I was relying on every day, because my right hand was much worse than that. And this, after treatment, is my right hand. And it is apparent to everyone that the treatment has had an amazing effect, because this hand was much the worse hand. You can see from that why I'm so enthusiastic about it and why I have found it such a wonderful thing to have done. And as Jenny said, we had to pay for it, but it was money well spent.
Tom describes the treatment as life-changing, a chance to enjoy many more years of independence and fulfilment. His story is a powerful reminder of how innovation and expertise at Queen Square can transform lives. We're grateful to Tom and Jenny for sharing their journey, and to you for joining us on Queen Square in Focus.